Hey folks, welcome back. Well, we got this 2015 Ford F150 in here, 3.5 V6, and it's a crank and no start. Just based on what the customer said, just act like it ran out of fuel. So we just went in to check the fuel pump right quick, and let me just show you easy way to actually figure out that that's what you got going on, and you have a complete circuit all the way forward. And we'll have a look at the wiring schematic first, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we got the wiring schematic here. And so your first thing is there's fuses to check. This is the main fuse right here that's going to be, it's fuse number 56. It's a 20 amp fuse, but you can see that it is it's powering up the load side of this relay, but it's also providing power for the coil side of the relay. And then outside the relay goes into the fuel pump control module. And then from there, here's your actual fuel pump assembly right here. And then, so basically the way that this is your fuel gauge here. So going back into the instrument cluster here, but it's all pretty simple actually. And you got, this needs a ground here. Also looks like it's got some kind of a shield around it. Not too relevant, but you get your PCM over here, then your body control module over here. So I would reckon that this fuel pump on is probably what that FPO stands for. But basically what we're going into, and there's another fuse right here. So in the body control module, which I think is in the passenger side kick panel, it is on the F250s and up. But you see we got this F34, which is a 30 amp fuse. And so basically this PCM sends a signal to this micro switch. Now how a micro switch actually does what it does, I don't really know. But once it does what it does, it goes over here and provides ground to actuate this relay. And then when this contact closes, that sends power over to this fuel pump control module, which in turn sends power out one of these. I would believe it's the yellow, but I'm not actually 100% sure. But what we've gone and done underneath of here, and I'll show you, is we've disconnected. It's really easy to get to the plug that's right on top of this fuel sender, and then we just hooked in a test light from this wire to this wire. And then you can do a couple of things. You could either just crank and start to pick up, and if the test light comes on, then all of this circuit works as it's supposed to. Your first hint is listening in the tank, which we did first and didn't really hear anything, but you want to verify all of this to find out, obviously, if by listening in the tank, the fuel pump's not working if you don't hear it. But the other thing is, it may not be a bad fuel pump, and that's why doing all these checks with the electrical stuff is a good thing to do first. So like I said, I'll show you how to get in there and access that plug. You're not gonna be able to see what you're doing. But anyways, yeah, it's you're gonna have to do it all by feel, but it's really not too bad. All right, so the first thing right here in front of the driver side rear wheel is you're gonna go up and over right in there and just reach your hand down there, and you'll feel the sender, which is right about in this position. You can see where it kind of looks like on the tank there, and then you can see these wires I got hanging out of here. We'll go on the other side and I'll show you what, and I'll show you what the plug looks like and all that stuff. But from here, you're pretty much just doing this by feel. You can kind of get your head up in there a little bit, but you're still not gonna be able to see anything. But at least you can. I kind of was able to sit up almost straight in here and go that way. Yeah, you can see the plug. First thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to slide that slider deal over, and might even try to get a better light down here, but yeah, let's get a better light. But anyways, all right, so maybe we can see this a little bit better. Now that is the unlock position. Oh, I'm trying to push this in and it ain't going. But anyways, you'd push on this side of it over here, and it's a little bit of a bear, but you know what we did is on that schematic we had, and I'll show you that. I didn't point that out, but we have a yellow with a gray tracer, I think it was, and a white with a brown tracer. So that is, if looking at this plug, is these two terminals over here, your other two on this side for the gauge. And so basically, and it doesn't matter which way, but we got these two probes, you know, pins going in here, which in turn is just hooked up to alligator clips out to a test light. You don't have to have it that long, but I mean, this is just what I decided to use. And then we'll go out there and we'll crank and start this thing, and that light should come on. All right, coming here. I think this pickup's at just about 160,000 miles, but this is a push button start. So obviously you got to put your foot on the brake and hit the button. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to see this light, like, you know, blinking or do anything like that. You want it to be on steady, and that pretty much tells you that the circuit, that is, everything in here is all doing its job from this point back. So the next thing you have to do is you got to get this fuel pump sender out of here, which is most likely a bad pump. I mean, you could have some connection issues in that plug and whatever. I doubt it, but it still can happen. But we just know that at this point we've got to either lift the bed of this thing off or drop the fuel tank. I think we're going to do the bed because the fuel tank is like, I think he had just filled it up or something. Of course, that would be the way it was. So this is our, remember I told you we had our yellow with a gray tracer, and then you have a white with a brown tracer. That's those two wires there that we tied into right here at 4 and 3. And that's what we got that test light hooked to, and that tells you basically everything in here is working like it's supposed to. Now, if you didn't have power here, the next place I would move to, you know, obviously if you checked your fuses, the next place I'd move to would be the output of this fuel pump relay, which is, this is going to be in the battery junction box. I assume is probably up in the up by the firewall or left fender or somewhere like that. I'm more familiar with the F250s, and that's where they're at there, you know. And then you're going to have to go out here and you're going to make sure that you got power on 3, and then make sure you got power on 1. And you can see that this says hot all the time. So this power here on 1 and 3, that is going to be there all the time, whether the key is on or off. And then from there, you know, you're going to have to, if you don't got power coming out of like this number 5, or you can go up to the fuel pump control module. It sits up in the frame rail. Let's go have a look and see where that is. Hey, that's it right there. You notice we're just right beyond where we were just at. You know, there's the rear differential, and that's it there. So it's pretty easily accessible too. So you can remove that plug there and test, you know, from there to see if you got power. Which means in this case, you know, you'd find that plug, and that plug's probably going to have every one of these wires in it. So you'd want to look for this, just this blue wire, and go off the terminal of it. That would probably be the next place I would go. and put your test light, and use a test light when you're doing all this stuff. You don't want to use a meter, because you could put a meter across this 3 and 4 right here, and you could, let's say you had an open wire or something like that right in between here, between this fuel pump control module, or if you had an open wire between here, you can get the correct voltage that you need right here, but can the system actually carry a load? And you want to have a pretty good sized test light too. It's why I use headlight bulbs. But anyways, you would put one lead of test light on ground, and then on this blue wire, and go ahead and crank and start it. Or the other way is to get it with a scanner. You can get into the PCM, connect to the PCM, and go through, and you can actually just turn the fuel pump on and off. It's just turning this relay on and off, without having to do that either way. It was just faster to sit and wait for the scanner just to go ahead and crank that. So anyways, yeah, that's what so if you all of a sudden you had power here, but then you'd have to troubleshoot, okay, do we have all of our, you'd have to just keep going back farther and figuring out, okay, if you had it here, then we need to make sure that this fuel pump control module has all the inputs and outputs that it needs, because this PCM right here, obviously it's got a couple of things it's got to do, but it's got to monitor, or it's got to send out a signal to turn it on in the first place, doing via this micro switch through the relay. But it's also got these monitoring wires here, I would assume, which I even would think that this FPM is fuel pump monitor, so somehow or another it's getting some kind of a signal to tell you that it is turning on. And that's why this thing is I didn't even get the codes or whatever, but we need to no, I did get the codes, I just didn't show them to you yet. All right, there's quite a few of them in here, and I think a lot of this, we're going to have to just go after, obviously we've got a fuel pump that's not working. This is the first one that jumped out at me right here, this fuel pump A control, or fuel pump, yeah, A control open circuit. So basically I think that, the pump motor's just open. It's not working. This P0627, like this crankcase pressure sensor, we're going to have to get it running, and obviously this fuel rail pressure, low fuel pressure, all that stuff's gonna account for that. What did I do? Oops. Here are the second ones that it had in here. The other interesting thing here is these O2 sensors stuck lean. This thing could have logged, like maybe been barely working and not supplying enough fuel, and the engine running too lean enough to set these particular faults. So yeah, anyways, a lot of times, you're not going to be able to troubleshoot any of these type of stuff until you get the thing running. It's going to set off all kinds of codes. Anytime it deactivates the starter itself, because it will do that, because the crank time was too long, it's going to set a code for that. So that's just the way these things are. But anyways, we're going to, since this tank is completely full and I can't get it, it's in here my shop backwards, not a huge, but if I were to get this thing on the lift, my the pickup would be hitting all that stuff up there, but anyways, I'm gonna get in here and we're just gonna lift up this bed from the side. You've got these bed bolts here, and there's 6 of them. So there's one there, one up front, one there, and one right behind there. No, right there. Anyways, we're going to take these completely out. Those we're just going to loosen, and then we're just going to take a bottle jack and go in between the leaf spring right here and right in here, with probably right here, and just go ahead and just lift it up a little bit, and then we'll just monitor what needs to be done in the back. Some of these I've not really on these F150s, but other pickup trucks I've done this with on a couple of Dodges and even the older Fords. You can get these up high enough without really disconnecting any wires or anything like that. So you just start lifting it and just kind of keep looking and seeing what's in there. Like I said, I haven't done one of these pickups. There's looks like somebody's handprint from pushing this thing. Yeah, so that's what we're going to start out doing. You know, obviously we're going to have to get up in here and disconnect this somehow. I really don't know exactly how these come out, but this will have to get disconnected, or have to disconnect the hose from right down in there either way, because that's going to need some slack. And this vent tube right here, that's, you know, if we can get it loose from right up here. They used to just have screws in here, but obviously they don't now, so I don't know how that comes apart, but we will keep on going with that, get this thing lifted up, and I think that's the way we're going to go with this. Well, the bed removal plan got 86'd, basically because couldn't get these. Well, I didn't even try that one. This is the first one I tried, and I couldn't even get it off. These are T50 Torx, and you can see I torqued on this quite a bit and twisted the socket. All right, so here's one of the ones on the front. You can see they kind of like weld that nut in there, and I don't know, I've removed a lot of Ford beds and stuff from the 90s to the early 2000s, and never really had too much issue. Our climate, you know, if you're in the Rust Belt area, you're gonna have a problem with it no matter what. But anything for pretty much 2010 or 11 and above on these Fords have been having issues with them, especially on the, I mean, this is all the F250s, but this is exactly the same problem we're having. The other issue with, you know, why I'm not even going to screw with getting try to get these off is, yeah, you can get to that one up front there. You could heat that up, probably get that to buzz right out of there. This one right here, having that nuts inside this frame rail here, and it's possible, but it's really extremely hard to even get a torch or something like that in there to heat it up. And it's practically, I didn't even see access on these back ones. That's why I gave up. I just went down underneath there, looked. And it's going to be right in there, up in there, and you know, it's way up in there. You could probably get a torch in right here, but like I said, I'm just not going to screw with it. And yeah, it's right up, it's way up in there. It's these middle ones here that'll probably be the hardest ones to get, and you know, just not going to screw with it. It would have been the nicer way to go about it, but just is what it is. As far as getting these tanks off of here, there's a couple other videos and stuff I actually even checked out, because I didn't exactly know how to do this. You know, this rides, let's see, right in here. How does it go? I think I gotta flip this over. Yeah, there we go. So it goes in those clips right there. This can all stay. This could even stay connected. The only thing you want to disconnect is there's a line that connects right in here, which is oh shit. I'd be able to see that. I'll show you that in a second, but you know, like this can stay connected. You'll need to undo the wiring off of this, wire connector off of here, the wire connector off the sender itself, and then undo the fuel lines right there. And all this right here come down with the tank. So you can see we got the sender's already out of there. All right, under here, this is what you'll need to disconnect. You got those, you got your main fuel line. I think this is some kind of a, you know, part of the emissions evap stuff or whatever, but I pointed out those connectors. So like, here's one of them here, here's another one there, and there's your main connector we were looking at before. This was the other line I was talking about. And then obviously your fill line can get disconnected from, where are we at here? There it is, right there. Right there. There's a clamp on there. It's easy to get to from out there, right in through the wheel here. Yeah. So, anyways, I actually just cut this off. Because we're getting a new center anyways. I just got to dig that white piece out of there. I just, for some reason, just couldn't get this out. But yeah. So we'll keep going.